In this section of the video, we will be coloring this concrete sculpture using something that can only be used with concrete. This is an acid stain material that interacts with the lime in the concrete to create the colors. They're mineral salts that interact with lime to create the colors. So it's not paint. It's like a stain, but it's not, because it interacts with the material of the sculpture itself, it's variable. It's like watercolors. There'll be different depths of color on different parts of the piece, all depending upon how much lime comes to the surface. So you cannot use the acid stain until the piece has been out of the mold for about a week, because it takes that long for the lime to rise to the surface of the piece. I get these acid stains from Direct Colors, which is a company that sells them on the web, and you can order a set of sample Direct Colors colors for not too much money, for 4-ounce bottles, which is enough to do a sculpture. The colors I'm using here, we start with a light color, and it's not actually green. It looks green, but the color is called Shifting Sands, and it becomes kind of a tan color, sand color. So we're going to put that on first. And we're doing this on a really cold day, and so it's taking a long time for this color to kick. Very often, on a warm day, the colors will go on with a little bit of a sizzle, and they'll change color right away. But in this case, it's really cold out, and all of these kinds of chemical reactions are speeded up by heat. So we're going to have to hit this with a little bit of a heat gun to get the color to really change. You can see the sand color just beginning. I'm also coloring the nose and eyes with a different color, black. And it will gradually shift to black as we heat up the piece. We do want our otter darker, though. We're getting our sand color here with the heat gun, but we're going to want him darker than sand. And so we'll go over him with the cola brown color. For that, we're using a gel. It's a little easier to get the color to stay where you want it to stay and not dribble around if you use the gel form. But I think that the gel is a little slower acting than the liquid. So I tend to prefer the liquid, but in this case, we're doing cola brown gel on the rest of them. You're going to want to use relatively cheap brushes for this, because you can rinse them out and clean them, but it does tend to eat up the brushes eventually. So don't use your best brushes for this. So we'll get them good and covered with the cola brown. The colors will continue to be active for up to 12 hours. They'll continue to act on the concrete. But after it reaches the color you want it to have, then you rinse it off. You rinse the residue off. The color should be integral to the concrete and not, a coating. So as you can see, the black is blacking up nicely, and he's browning up. We're warming them, so the gel is kicking a little. And because it's a gel, it's drying to this white color, because, we'll have to wash that crust of gel off. If you get your colors from Direct Colors, their website is also pretty helpful in instructions on how to use this stuff. And you can call them, and they have good customer support for finding out how to use their materials. As you can see, it's definitely kicking here. We're getting a nice brown otter with enough variegation in the colors to be interesting. The other thing with these acid stains is you can keep putting it on and taking it off as long as you want to get the effects that it It's pretty fun, actually. It's quite a lot like watercolors. And keep in mind with this project, these molds can be used many times. I mean, if I wanted to, I could make an army of otters, which is something I think about sometimes. So this isn't just to produce one sculpture. You can have a mold library and do multiple sculptures off of one mold. Ann Klefstedt is a fiscal year 2021 recipient of a Creative Support for Individuals grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board. This activity is made possible by the voters of Minnesota through a grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board, thanks to a legislative appropriation from the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.